Hello and welcome to Fitness Unfiltered episode. We don't actually know anymore because Rona has consumed the past year. So it's somewhere between 1 and 100. And I don't actually know what the series is because we discovered this today, didn't we, on a group chat?
This
What was
is
it?
series 3.
Between 1 and 3. Anyway, so welcome. I'm joined as usual by Mike. How are you?
I am fine.
And Emma. How are you?
I'm also fine. This is very late for me.
Weird stuff happens when we record late. In with the theme of today. So we were going to start, I don't know whether we do regular intros today or we just go straight into it, because I was going to start with an inappropriate joke about an Englishman, a Scotswoman, a Kurdish man, a Lebanese man and a Turkish man that don't walk into a bar because you can't go anywhere with Corona. So I think a few people might know
who's got Corona? Who's got Corona?
I haven't got it. Have you had it?
I don't know.
Well, I heard that 1 in 5 people, so somebody's got it.
Emma, we're not talking about STDs, we're talking about Corona.
And what an intro. We can start with you then, Diren. Diren, tell us a bit about yourself for someone that may not have heard about you.
Oh yeah, so you probably know me as James's mate. Or Mr. Neat Up 24/7. I'm kind of new in the fitness industry, I guess, on socials for the last 2 years, but I've been in fitness for the last 10, and now I'm here with you guys, with such beautiful people, and James Smith.
And James, just in case no one really knows who you are.
Oh, just backtracking a little bit. I'm fuming that swab went that far up my nose and didn't tell me I had chlamydia.
On to a rolled-in start, which kind of brings us into the topic of today, because we want to talk about an event that didn't happen, but it should have been happened, that you may or may not have picked up an STI from.
Oh,
the IFS. And I'll apologise as well, because the lateness is no doubt to do with the time zone of me being in Australia. So I'm very, very sorry for that.
No,
you're worth it,
absolutely
James.
fine.
Okay.
Worth it. We wouldn't step late if it wasn't worth it.
Basically, if it was me on the other end, I'd probably have to get up early. That's what they're saying, bruv.
No, we're more than happy to get this chat going, because it's well needed, I think, and overdue probably, but you're both busy guys. So, I mean, for those that aren't aware of the IFS, what does IFS stand for? Why hasn't it happened this year? What was it last year? And I feel like I can ask these questions because I had serious FOMO, because you were all there and I weren't. And I do feel I really missed out on that. But next year's a different story. So
you were doing your military service in Lebanon, innit?
I'm not the Lebanese one. I'm the Turkish one, man. But actually, do you know what?
I know you're the Turkish.
I do still have my Turkey. I'm supposed to do my papers. I got my papers to say I'm supposed to do my service.
I was going to say, James,
say it on the podcast, Dan. You're going to get called back.
James speaks Turkish. You know that.
That's a sin.
Bits and
Good
pieces. Morning. Yeah, it's for you. It's for you, mate. Not for the rest of us. But yeah, you'll still have those, won't you? Of sorts.
Yeah, but I think you can just pay it off. It's like
the
lira is really good now. It's like £1 to like 9 liras. So I think you can pay like £1,000 and keep your passport, and like it's like you've done your military service.
Yeah,
so
that's basically it.
I'm just gonna do that.
So what is what happened last year with the IFS?
James,
why was it different to any other sort of expos?
I think after going somewhere like Body Power, which was Diren and I's first ever expo we went to, it was a very, very interesting scene for us. First of all, we didn't have a clue how many selfies we were going to get, but you could just tell as soon as you walked in there what was prioritized in fitness, or as from an event standpoint. And they had big budget for like UFC fighters. They had big budget for these big bodybuilders who had queues around the corner, and not taking anything away from them. Then in a pokey corner of Body Power, you've got your evidence-based practitioners who are given a poor audio setup in a very small kind of crowded area that's very easy to get full. They're not really given much limelight from the event itself. And it feels very much like a playground for narcissists. You see guys in stringy vests going around just looking to get free tasters for supplements. and you're like, holy fuck, this to me isn't fitness at all. This is just a bunch of people on steroids looking to get a few protein pouches and a selfie with the fucking biggest bloke from Game of Thrones or whatever it is. And it was a real shame for me to see so many, like, you know, gifted speakers in the fitness industry and people that I find really, really interesting, to have 20 people trying to listen to what they're saying whilst there's just supplement stands all around blaring music out. And we first got kind of approached by the International Fitness Summit, and they were like, lads, if you could do it, how would you do it differently? And Diren and I flew out there to Barcelona about 3 months before the event, and that's probably one of the worst hangovers I've ever had.
Oh, no, that night was that night was a madness. We checked out the place, and then we had pretty sure we got home at like 5 or 6 a.m., which is how you do it in Barcelona anyway. But I think like IFS in general, it's just I think the fitness industry in general, from that year to like where it is now, is completely changing. And I think IFS is the only people that's keeping up with it. It's giving other people that are very average in shape, James and me, an opportunity to talk, you know. And yeah, the fitness industry is changing. I feel like events, like, I'm not trying to shit on body power or anything, but it's just, I felt more at home at IFS, and there was more of a connection between the speakers and people that were there to talk to you more than any other event I've been to. And I feel like it was one event I've went to where there was no, I didn't see any egos. And if there was, they were hiding because they had no opportunities there, which was probably my favorite thing about the whole thing.
Yeah, I would say, so speaking about as a spectator and going to the event, it was something that massively struck me about it as well. Because like I've always had a bit of a thing about not feeling totally comfortable within the fitness industry, because although like I have a massive interest in fitness and I have a massive interest in lifestyle change, I think that a lot of people suffer with feeling a bit like they don't belong in fitness unless they look like they belong in fitness. And I think it was something that you said, James, when you did the opening speech at IFS last year, was about how actually it feels a lot like the fitness industry is aimed at the people who don't need any help from the fitness industry, and the ones that actually need to be helped, the ones that want to change their lives, the ones that might be at risk of chronic illness, the ones whose lives could really be transformed by fitness and health and lifestyle change, are the ones that often feel like the outsiders, when really they're the ones who should be brought into the fold and included and made to feel welcome. And I thought that was something that really struck me about IFS, is that there was no, I've heard people say stuff like that in fitness before, but it doesn't always ring true and be followed up by the actions. And I think it did more so in the content as well.
It seemed from Go on, James, sorry. I was just going to say, from the outside's perspective, it seemed like it was far more inclusive, and that it wasn't purely for PTs either. This was open to everyone. So, like as you said, Mike, I know you was attending as a fan, but so you might have heard about it a little bit more. But potentially people that are just fans of you guys, it was an opportunity for them to come along, have a bit of a laugh, have a drink, and just have a good time with you, as well as learn from you as well.
I mean, if we were to remove it from context, let's say that we had a lot of people who needed financial help. Imagine if you were like, oh, actually, we're offering out financial help, but you're only allowed to come if you've got a really good credit rating. That's almost what the fitness industry is. It's like, unless you've got a lot of money, you can't come for financial help. And you're like, that doesn't make sense. Surely the people that come to these talks should be the ones who are struggling and looking to improve their situation. There shouldn't be a stigma towards being the target audience. And I think that's something that really does need to be changed, where, you know, and that benefits everyone if you can have people at these events who actually need your help. And again, when we were saying about body power, the people that go there are fitness people. It was for personal trainers, and it was good that there was kind of like a core demographic of PTs looking to better their business. And then also there was customers there. I had over 100 Academy members there, and it was so cool on the beach party night to see dudes. I remember Nate with his top off. Like he was probably in his first few months of his fitness fat loss journey, and he had his top off and he was shaking it. And I was like, yes, this is what it's about. Like, this isn't about waiting until you're finished product and taking your top off. I was like, people are getting jiggy with it, you know, before they
do you remember the dance battle? The dance battle on the beach. Oh, that was, hey, you were gone, James. You were on the mic. You were like, yeah, give me everything. I was like, hey, Smith, shut up, bruv. Let me talk.
So is that the rite of passage then? You've got to then present the next day, half cut.
What's that?
Is that the rite of passage that the next day you've got to then present with a hangover?
Yeah.
There were some big nights at that event. What didn't help was quite a lot of people getting there a night early, but it was kind of cool because everything was jovial, even the talks. One of my business to business talks, you know, you've got probably best part of 80 personal trainers coming for some tips on how to build a business. I look at the back and there's 12 lads in budgie smugglers walking into my talk, and they did it remaining dead silence. So I've got to keep a straight face whilst taking a presentation while there's 15 half naked blokes at the back of it doing dances and stuff. But that, it was cool. It was nice to have that, because so many B2B events that I've been to through the years are very stoic, stern, you know, this is how you're going to build your business. I'm not an anabolic steroids, like exploding out of an extra medium black polo shirt. And it was quite nice to have someone, that wasn't a pop at Phil Graham, by the way. It was so good to
I thought we were talking about Jamie Alderton.
But we all know who came to mind.
But no, it's nice to have that kind of jovial aspect to what is a business talk or a consumer talk.
Yeah, from like a consumer point of view as well, we talk about this quite often in terms of how our echo chamber has changed over the years. And I think it did get lost in this void of aesthetics only for a long time. But, you know, fitness and performance does seem to be coming a little bit more around, you know, how you make people feel and confidence and all those other benefits that, you know, we don't associate necessarily with being fit and healthy. It's, you know, mental health aspects and everything else that goes with that. And with that said, like, obviously this year's couldn't happen, but what was, I guess, the step up from last year? What was the plans, and how's that potentially looking in the future?
We were going to go to Lisbon. So the idea was that they picked Barcelona last year, and me and Diren were like, yeah, we're like, let's do this, it'll be sick. And then neither of us have been to Lisbon. And they're like, boys, how do you feel about coming out to Lisbon? We're like, yeah, it's going to be unreal. And I think that this year was about getting more people there, because Barcelona is not a cheap place to stay. It's not a cheap place to go out. And we're going to take full advantage of Lisbon and try and really get more people there. It's a shame that it couldn't go ahead because of COVID. I mean, in hindsight now, looking back now, you're like, that was never going to go ahead. I remember in July, we're like, it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably,
to
you know.
To be fair, we did think it was going to happen, and we were gassing everyone up. But I think last year, compared to what was going to happen this year, was number one, there was going to be a lot more new faces. Number two, I know a lot of coaches, a lot of educators saw what happened last year with the pool parties, with all the interaction with your followers and with educators. They were like, I want to be a part of that. So I think the range of people that were going to come this year was going to be way better than last year. And I think that alone was just going to make it twice as bad, because last year, in a weird way, James, it was like a bit of a test, innit? And it banged. And this year would have been twice as big. And I can't imagine what it's going to look like in the next few years, you know?
What's crazy for me, I remember looking back when I just started out personal training, maybe in my first couple of years, I remember messaging Martin McDonald, and he didn't have social media when I messaged him. And I listened to him on a podcast, and something he said about us trying to instill into our clients that breakfast isn't essential. We become anti-breakfast by accident. I was like, fuck, I'm anti-breakfast. And I messaged him on his personal Facebook, and I was like, mate, you have completely changed the way that I've thought about my own way of thinking. And I said to him, why haven't you got social media? And I remember then proactively like trying to find his podcast, whatever like that. If at that point someone had said, why don't you come to an event where we'll teach you how to run a better business and you can have gin and tonics with that man by the pool, I would have been like, yes, where do I sign up? How can I do this? Because it's such an avenue to connect with people. Not that you want to pick his brains by a pool, but you get to meet these people, see what they're like in real life. And then suddenly when Martin does say, oh, come join MNU, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, you're like, yes, let's do it. And it benefits everyone.
I think that's one main thing. like the connection you have, because a lot of the times, you know how you follow people that you haven't met or whatever it is, but you never actually connect with them on a one-to-one level. And I think when you do that at these events, it's the people that have connected, even people that have started personal training, say within the first or second year, have probably learned things that me and James know 10 years into the fitness industry straight away. It's like there's no cap where we're not holding back when we're speaking to people. If someone asks something, we just tell them how to do it, whether it's how to get better at marketing or whatever it is, you know. And I think the main thing, the biggest thing was just connecting with everyone, you know, like, I mean, just having a beer with someone and relaxing and actually not talking about fitness and just chilling the fuck out was like way better than any other fitness discussion I had, you know, personally.
Because there's a lot to be said for community, and that was, I guess, all your tribes coming together, if you like, you know, and joining in that. So, like, obviously this year you had a few more, because I believe is that right? There's going to be a few more headliners announced, a few more people speaking.
Yeah, I think
because there was a few.
Jay Morton, Alan Barron, CEO of Grenade.
Got people like Jordan Syatt coming over.
Jordan Syatt, yeah,
and he's class. I've been connecting with him on a personal level as well, and I think there are some people from the US that we'd love to get over, and yeah, just populating kind of everything out a bit, and giving people. It's a strange one because Diren and I were headed up last year with picking like the majority of the speakers and who to come and who not to come. And you almost need like a headline act to draw people. And then without saying this in a disservice way, you then need to put the people that people haven't always heard of and put them in and amongst it. Because I remember I stumbled over Paul Mort by accident listening to someone else's podcast, and he ended up being one of the most influential people ever. If someone had said, oh, it's a guy from Newcastle with like 2,000 followers, I'd have been like, nah, not interested. I had to hear what he said first before that. So I think that it's real good that you have the big names to then sometimes discover the support acts, and you might take more from a support act than you ever expected before. And then it works both ways for them, because, you know, we're saying, hey, come to an event. You get to speak in front of people. Diren and I are out there like making everyone come, and then we're like, hey, we've got hundreds of people for you to talk in front of, and it is one of those things that is just beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. I don't think it's a phrase we get away with down south, but that whole gas your mates up and giving other people a platform as well, because there are just some brilliant unknowns out there, the same as, you know, we're all aware of influencers that probably have many following that probably don't deserve to be heard as much, and I'm desperate to know who's on that not to have their list. I won't put you on the spot, but I will ask you, like, at the moment, what are your industry peeves? Just one that's sticking out at the moment.
For me,
I can see Emma's ready to go, actually.
Because Emma knows what I'm going to say. That's why. Emma knows what I'm going to say. That's why. Innit, Emma? Yeah, Emma, you know what I'm going to say, innit? You know what I'm going to say. Do you want to say it for me? You want to say it for me? Say it for me.
What, girls who don't have cellulite
yeah.
bending over and giving themselves cellulite. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't stand it. I can't stand the fact that, because like me and James, we deal with actual clients, and we have close interaction with our clients. Not saying anyone else doesn't, but a lot of people in the influencer scene, I think, don't, right? They influence. That's how they make money. Whereas people like us, all of us here, we actually coach people. And I know from my experience through my clients, I feel like that can be damaging. Hence why it frustrates me so much when some girls don't realize they're actually hurting people just to get a bit more engagement and a few more likes on Instagram. That's my biggest, I hate that the most, personally.
You see that on the extreme of like bodybuild or like prep girls who are like, oh, now I look fluffy, and you're like, what? Like, yeah. No, you don't. And then you see, like, I don't know, all of their clients, or maybe they don't work with people, but you see the majority of other women who are so critical of their bodies thinking, if she's that critical of her body and she looks that amazing, she must think I look like a fucking whale. You know, that's not potentially not the case at all. And you don't know that actually that girl's probably got really bad body dysmorphia and has an awful relationship with her body. Yeah. But like, when you're putting all this on social media, and to be fair, if your job is being an influencer or creating social media content, you have to consider these things, and it's not enough to just sort of step back and be like, well, this is how I feel about my body, I should be able to talk about it like that.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It's fine if you don't have that platform.
And that's half of the issue. Is I think everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to be giving people advice. Everybody wants to be telling people how to do stuff. But I think there has to be some sort of insight into the fact that if you don't have your own stuff together, then it's okay to say, guys, honestly, this is how I feel. Like, that's fine. But if you're in a position where you're educating people on how they should be looking at their own bodies, then you need to be in a position where you're either doing it from a professional standpoint, where you're like actually trained in body dysmorphia and those sorts of things, and you're educating people on how to do it, or you need to be doing it from a personal level. Like, either be a creator of stuff to help others, or be a consumer of stuff to help yourself. But sometimes I think you can't really do both. It's a bit like, I don't know, sometimes I think about it with a lot of the mental health stuff. Is like, if I'm a mental health professional and I'm speaking about mental health on social media, I think on some level it's important to share some of my own experiences, but also on another level, I think you almost, I don't know, I haven't really formulated my ideas on this really fully.
But see what you said, at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like, last year, I got asked to do a speech at IFS. Mm-hmm. And I said no. I said no. And I know there's stuff that I can say that are very valid, that will help loads of people. But before I did that, I wanted to make some money and be like, when someone goes, well, why can you talk, Diren? Well, because I fucking did it now. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I didn't talk last year. And trust me, I could have spoken. I could have had my own little thing. I could have probably even opened it if I really wanted to. But I didn't. I was like, nah, I'm gonna do this first. I'm gonna make, it's not about money, but for me, I feel like I need to achieve certain things before I tell other people what to do with their lives.
Yeah.
And then do it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with those sort of influencers and just in general,
Definitely think there's some validity for that, especially in the industry at the moment, in which, I suppose earning your stripes and advising on others on how to run successful businesses. Obviously, you need proof of, like, the proof is in the punch, isn't it? It's I don't know. I feel like this is going to let
okay. Wait. I have a question here.
Go on.
Right. So, Diren, you say that you feel like you needed to have had some kind of business success to be able to talk about that.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and saying, okay, well, if you don't have a six-pack or you've never had a six-pack, how can you be a good PT? Like, there's almost the same comparison there when people are like, I need to earn this much to show you how to run your business. I need to have done it myself.
Yeah.
But that isn't the message that you give across in terms of
But I think when it comes to like coaching people on how to get a certain physique or whatever is very different to me saying, hi guys, I'm doing a B2B, a business to business. Oh, well, Diren, for a business owner, you're not making much money. Why are you talking to me? Whereas, oh, Diren, you coach thousands of people and those thousands of people get loads of results. So there's my proof. Do you get what I mean?
I think I'm going to interject on this one as well to say that Diren and I probably actually coach people to be a lot like ourselves rather than to get people to six packs. And both of us have had quite neurotic clients that are like, I want a six pack, I want a six pack, I want a six pack. And I'll speak on behalf of both of us where we're like, oh, do you know what? Probably just go to a macro coach then, because this is going to sound really narcissistic. I feel like I've discovered the key to the good life with my physique and how I am. It took me years to realize this. I mean, I went on steroids, I did everything before. And almost what you realize, we take a lot of clients and actually program them onto our tracks of, hey, you're going to eat well, but you're also going to eat what you want. You're going to be active, but you're going to train when you want. And instead of epitomizing something different, we're actually bringing people onto this line where you're like, hey, we're just going to periodically cut weight whenever we realize that we're out of shape. So in that sense, I know what you mean, that a lot of, in my early days, I would have felt exactly the same, where I was like, oh, no one's going to take me seriously unless I'm bigger and buff. So I went on gear, got bigger and buff, and my business didn't change. But yeah,
and I think that's what people forget, is that it's about what you can do for your clients, not what you can do for yourself. So for example, although this doesn't work quite the same, because a business coach would by very merit, like if their businesses were doing well, they would do well. But for example, if Diren, you could you had hundreds of businesses that you had got up to a certain amount of money, but you'd never had that business yourself, wouldn't bother me. And it kind of the same with fitness, right? Whereas it doesn't bother me that you've not done it. And you see it in like all sports, but you don't seem to see it so much with personal trainers, where like my athletics coach had a massive beer belly. Like he couldn't run to, he was so out of shape. And in fact, to the point of being really pretty unhealthy. Didn't like that, never crossed my mind, the fact that you could never do like any of this, because it's different. They're showing you the way to do something. It's not necessarily the fact that you have had to walk in those shoes or that you could do it yourself.
But I think it depends whether you're educating from a place from education or experience. So like, for example, if you're being a PT and you're teaching somebody how to get physically active and physically fit, like you've done a course, you've learned how to do it. If somebody's got like a master's in business, then they might do business coaching without actually having run a business in sort of some situations. Well, probably not, because that's much more of a hands-on sort of thing. But I guess like, if you're business coaching because you've got a successful business, but you haven't got a successful business, then actually that's always going to be nonsense. But I think you can learn how to deliver a service without actually having kind of delivered it on yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think what Emma was trying to say was that, Diren, you don't have a good physique, but you coach people. But anyway.
Definitely don't think she said that.
I think another really kind of interesting point that kind of ties in with kind of like my latter message since calorie deficit is that Diren actually, at the point of IFS when it went ahead before, was sustaining an online business where he worked from a laptop and he covered all his bills. And I think that there needs to be more glamour, like we need to glamorize that more, because arguably there are so many PTs in that room who would have killed to have what you had. And I think, again, it must make, I know that Diren and I, when we're together, we very much struggle to be happy with what we have. And I know a lot of the time, Diren's in this race with me. I'm in a race with people that don't exist. And we get very caught up in that. And we do need to stop. And I need to say, Diren, mate, you work remote from a laptop and you coach dozens of people who don't just pay you well, they love you. Like, Diren, you can go to Azerbaijan tomorrow and still do your job. So like, there's all
it's what you define as success, isn't it? And I think everyone's got a skewed perception of that. Everyone thinks it's monetary or they think it's material, but ultimately, like, I think I can hopefully speak broadly. Everyone on the podcast here today is we very much more focus on our flexes, if you like, how we make people feel and, the results we get for others. So almost what was 10 years ago for PTs, get them in shape themselves, thinking that's going to get them clients. It's almost, you have people almost just flexing about how much money they're earning at the moment over, how they're making people feel or the results they're getting for other people, which has the most impact, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Impact over income.
That's it. People over pennies.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've all got bills to pay, so let's be realists. But I do think people come first.
No. But James made a valid point there, and I think it's maybe it's probably our personalities, bro. Even when me and James are together, if someone does content, I'll be content. James will message me, be like, "Hey, what did you do there with that video?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, brother. I've got you. Don't worry. I'll tell you in a couple of weeks when I've done a few more videos or whatever it is." I think it's actually very healthy, and like we've had this conversation where I think James is my secret weapon, and in a way, I'm probably his in like the growth that we had together. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's healthy, but like you said, I think it's important to stop and be like, you know what? Everything's actually good. You don't actually need that much, but it's easier for him because he's in Australia right now with the vitamin D.
Diren, you're not doing too badly, mate. I've seen you with the Dungeon Dojo going on, man. I'm jealous.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Em.
I was just going to say, I think that's true for like so many things in life, is that like comparison can be the thief of joy, and you could just be really like envious of each other, or it can be what pushes you to go a little bit further. And I think that's like, you kind of have to just check yourself and make sure that you're like, I think comparison's great. I think it's massively motivating, and seeing someone else do well should like you should be trying to get up to their level, rather than that being like, oh, they didn't deserve that, or 100%. I should have got that, or,
When Diren got his blue belt, I felt like I'd had a belt promotion. I felt like I'd been given a new belt of training. I was like, yes. And then there was
how hard did you chase that white stripe on your blue after that?
got two of them now.
This is the new how much do you bench, mate?
Yeah.
But after that, the other day, I saw one of Diren's podcasts and I was watching it with Bradley Simmons. And I was like, you're using 2 cameras. I was like, you snake. You're using a dual camera setup to do a podcast. So I go over to YouTube, I get my notepad out, and I'm like, nah, you're using a wide angle lens. That's a fisheye lens. And you're doing a crop to zoom on iMovie. I see everything. And then he's like, yeah, that's how I'm doing it. So then I go away. I was like, thank fuck, I don't need to buy a second camera. That would be an expensive more. So, yeah.
Along with things that are annoying you at the moment, just because I think we're going down this track, what are your irrational annoyances or things you think are overrated in fitness?
I kind of, it's annoying, and it is going to touch back on the last thing. Everything now is about treating social media like a stock market and trending things now. So like, imagine you're in the stock market and you know some shares are going north. Everyone jumps on it. Everyone's like, yeah, buy, sell. Now, the body confidence one, it's been fucking ruined, you know, and I've joked about this before, and I actually mean it. I think veganism, such a great cause, it's been ruined by a lot of self-righteous people that jump on it for gratification. And even feminism, to a certain point, has now got a bit of a taint to it, because feminism is such a fantastic cause. Then we've got like ultra feminists who have kind of tainted it. Body positivity's gone the same way. And I've never seen so many women that have now imprinted writing onto their body through whatever app it is. But they're all doing the same thing because they've all seen one person excel. I think Danae Mercer was the one who really got on the wave first, you know, of this body positivity thing. And it makes all the other attempts, you know, when you drop in on a wave surfing, all the others seem almost disingenuine because I can see exactly what they're doing. And it's completely saturated what is an important message. There's too much water in people's orange squash. And I'm like, fuck
That's
you.
The
You're
worst. When
when
your squash is too diluted. Oh,
can't undo that.
Yeah, you're hijacking a good cause for the sake of getting arbitrary growth. Where there is this squash, and it kills me. And I'm like, fuck. When was it about putting out good, meaningful content rather than, you know, just fucking trying to ride someone else's wave? And it's kind of a pet peeve that I see through. And again with the mental health stuff, and like I post on mental health, I've lost mates to it. And actually, I always say to people, like, I've not actually struggled. And I had a good conversation with Paul Mort about it. And he goes, it's because you're more proactive than you think about keeping your pillars that support your mental health high. And I'm always in this internal battle where sometimes I'm like, fuck, I haven't been depressed enough to post about it. But I'm not trying to ride someone else's wave. You know, Black Lives Matter, with the black square. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Most of the people got criticized on, you did the wrong hashtag. You posted, you know, it's one of these kind of wave movements we see in social media where things are more about trends than it is the cause. How many people that posted a black square have done anything for racial injustice or, you know, and suddenly you're just like, fuck, everyone's sat out at water just waiting for the next wave to come. No one has any integrity or any, you know, real desire to change people. They just want to get the fucking gratification when the wave comes. And it pisses me off because I can see through it.
I think one of the biggest things people struggle with, and what I see on social media on a day-to-day basis, is like people struggle to be their self. And James will know this as well. James, how many stories do I watch?
Just his.
Yeah.
And maybe mine.
But yeah. And I'll watch Smith's and maybe my family. But it's because I kind of don't want to be influenced by anyone else, you know? So anything that I say comes from me. You know, so because I feel like when people watch other people's content so much, they try to be like them, sometimes without even realizing. And then your kind of authenticity, I'm using some big boy words, James, you know, levels. And like, you kind of lose that. And I feel like that's one thing people struggle with, being their self. And that's why they just like jump on one wave to another, body positive.
But then like authenticity is another buzzword, and it's again something that everyone's jumping on the bandwagon of authenticity, and then they're like trying to look authentic by copying other people who are being authentic or who are saying that they're authentic. And it's just, it's like this vicious circle, like a black hole, isn't it? Because everything's then so homogenized that you're just like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know who to believe. I don't know who's being genuine. And sometimes I'm like, am I being genuine? Because, you know, or am I just being influenced like what Diren's saying? Because I've seen someone else do this. It's stuck in my head and I'm accidentally copying it.
And then the hugely ironic thing is, being yourself should be the easiest job in the world. Like, you shouldn't even have to try. You shouldn't have to reassure people you're being yourself.
Yeah.
Because it always, I mean, we've had discussions about this. It blows my mind when you'll go to an event and someone will bump into you and go, oh, I just met so-and-so. They're exactly as they come across on social media. Like, of course they should be. Like, you know, why are you celebrating them for being themselves? They should be themselves. That's exactly how they should appear in person. So it's an interesting one.
Because I feel like everyone, even like calorie deficit, NEAT, any sort of fitness principle, everyone's saying the same thing. You just got to say it as yourself. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
There's one other kind of trend I've not really spoken about, which is, it's kind of a sensitive one, but a lot of people on social media are now using it as a place to be butthurt, to be offended, and to almost, I'm really unsure what's going on. I'd love to get your input on this, but so at the moment, the days I lose the most followers are the days I have a good time. And if I go to the beach with my friends, I'll lose about 300 followers, like net loss. So I'll be losing like 1,000. And I've found it's got nothing to do with my content. It's actually people getting rubbed the wrong way that I'm having a good time. And so then I have an internal battle where I go, fuck, maybe I shouldn't be showing people my life, but I want to remain authentic. And I know that there are probably thousands of my academy members who like seeing that. And then suddenly my mind is being influenced by a certain group of people. And I'm afraid to say it, there are the people that hate you the most are your biggest fans. And it's such a weird thing. I say one thing on a live and it's picked up by the haters. And I'm thinking, how many haters are tuning into my lives? I can't even get my prospects to tune into my lives. And it's this crazy world we live in. And I'm not sure what corners of the earth these people are that are tuning in, watching your stuff and choosing to be offended by seeing you having a good time. And it really kind of, I'm trying to get into the minds of people. I'm not sure if it's what's going on with COVID and impeding economic gloom or whatever it is, but social media has suddenly become a place where people plug into your life to hate it. And it's very strange.
They're looking for something, innit? Even, remember that time we got on the jet? Do you remember we were hesitating about should we post this or should we not? Like, keep in mind, we didn't pay for that jet. I got on a bus from my mum's house, not knowing we were going to Ibiza for a night. I was on Tottenham High Road on a bus and then got on a private jet. But me and Smith were like hesitating. Should we post this? Are people going to think of us the wrong way or whatever it is? And I feel like
take a snapshot of that though, don't they? They build the rest of the story. They don't know any of that. They just make a bunch of other assumptions. You know, you arrive there in a Ferrari, maybe. I mean,
have you gone on Lad Bible? Right, this is your task from now on. View the comments on Lad Bible. They are horrendous. Yeah. So man raises money for a homeless man. Way worse. At the moment on Lad Bible, a man raises money for homeless people. Right, you record it. And you know, then another one, man shows experience in a private jet. What about the environment? You know, someone goes in a sports car. Why are you revving a sports car with, you know, the CO2 emissions? And but people are opting in to see this. And again, Diren actually makes a very valid point. And I'm sure that any of us here, say you have a business victory, we're worried to show them off. Like, you have to be to a certain point to be comfortable with that. And it's crazy that you would think that people following you were your fans, but that's not the case anymore. Because if you were to celebrate a win, your fans would get behind it and it should lift them, it should raise them. And in Australia, prevalence of tall poppy syndrome, where in essence, the tallest poppy is the first to be cut down. And it's a societal phenomenon, it happens probably all around the world. And Diren and I, and probably you guys as well, when we see a tall poppy, we go, fuck, that height is achievable, we best get growing. But we're now in this kind of mindset where someone goes, oh, that's a bit tall, chop that the fuck down. Or you went on a private jet, well, you're a cunt then. You know, and it kills me because it goes against the grain of positivity, of ambition. And I think that mindset is also crushing so many people's dreams as well, where instead of lifting their profile, they just want to chop down everyone else's.
It's very much like a X Factor kind of type thing, where I think there's something in human nature where people really love the rise. They love to watch people build themselves up, but then once they reach a certain level, they're like, oh, hang on a minute, you've gone too far. I don't recognize myself in you anymore. You think you're better than me now, and I've had enough of you. And I think that people interpret it like that a lot. And I think you see it a lot in social media, because people love interacting with people and they love being able to follow them, and them not having loads of followers, because then they can reply to their messages and have that kind of banter with them. And then once they reach a certain level where they've sort of transcended that kind of that region, they're just like, nah, enough. I've had enough of you now. Like, you've got too big for your boots. And I think that's I think it's big in British culture. I think you see it a lot less. Like when you think about like what's celebrated in places like America, like they celebrate excess and extravagance, and it's really, people love celebrity and all that. And I remember seeing they used to talk about it, that it was like the soap operas of each individual culture is representative of what people want to see happen. So like British people want to see like all the working class, all the soaps, British soaps are all working class people. Australian soaps are generally sort of middle class people. American soaps are always like kind of bourgeois, sort of high class people, like rich folk, aren't they? And that's kind of representative of what people want to have in their vision.
And then
So interesting.
And the refugees at the bottom.
Because if you think about it, like Two and a Half Men, one of the biggest ones in America, like Malibu, Friends. There's no way you're getting an apartment that big in New York. You know what I mean? Like, this is blowing my mind. Like all of them, and then suddenly you're right. You're like Coronation Street, fucking Last of the Summer Wine. Yeah. Like you're right. I've never thought of that. That's a really interesting depiction.
Yeah, definitely.
Was it better than my banana flavoring story?
Yeah, it was, Diren.
Yeah. Glad we recorded this one,
brother.
Oh, for real.
I've got like interesting facts in my thing, but then they're not good interesting facts. They're just interesting. And like Diren, when we travel together, I'll be like, "Did you know?" And he's like, "Where's this coming from, bro?"
What is your favourite did you know fact?
I like to have context with them, but my dad worked in shipping, so that was his job, and he'd always just blow my mind with like where words came from. So the word posh comes from traveling port out, starboard home. And I think it was transatlantic, so you'd be getting the sunrise and the sunset preferential to the passenger class that they were traveling. So if you're traveling posh, you'd go out port out, starboard home.
That is a good fact.
I did not know that.
No, I didn't know that.
And the word shit comes from ship high in transit, which they used to write on the side of boxes that had manure, because boats weren't watertight. You didn't want manure getting wet, so they'd have to write shit on the side of boxes that had manure in.
Hey, you know what would be amazing? If men like Jeff here just made all of that up, and now hundreds of thousands of people think that.
I was a little convinced Mike made up his banana story the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
It's true.
I like Jeff. Wait, Diren called my parents on the house phone the other day. My mum texted me. She goes, "Diren called today." I went, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, Diren called on the house phone, checking up on us." I was like, "Oh,
just want to say hello, innit?"
That's a nice thing.
No, because I know his mum
tapping on the window in the rain and staring through the window. That'd be a different story.
All right, I'll tell you what. Yeah, everyone better thank James's mum for being such a relatable coach, right? Because in that house, it's easy to put on weight. I'm telling you, there's food everywhere, like everywhere.
Vases full of chocolate.
Yeah,
they've got like 3 biscuit tins.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
We always had a lot of biscuit tins growing up. There was like a shortbread tin, a plain digestive tin, and then like chocolate variations. It's important.
Biscuits are important.
Mike, while you're here, Dr. Mike, I want to ask you, because there's a lot of nuanced opinions surrounding COVID, but having a man in the know, do you know what? There's not much objective information.
Yeah.
Not much objective information surrounding COVID. Now, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I would just love to know your current input on the information that's available to you in an objective nature, what you feel about the current situation of the world?
It's a very, very good question. And I think that like even in the like from the medical profession standpoint, I've actually found it incredibly difficult to distill out good information from bad information. So I'm talking about, you know, how like all information just spreads like absolute wildfire. And I think with this more than anything, I think you've suddenly got a situation where a lot of the professionals are as frightened as the people who aren't professionals. And I feel like there's been a lot of spread of information that hasn't been great. I've seen it in WhatsApp groups with other doctors and stuff. People do, you know, the apparently stories that people spread around. And I think because there's been such limited information, it's been much easier for that misinformation to spread. So it's been really difficult to filter stuff out. And I think that sort of is a mixture of the fact that a lot of the real information from really respected sources has turned out to be false in certain ways, as you would expect, because it's all new, isn't it? But also I think it's representative of fear as well, because I think we often fill in the gaps when we don't know the real answers. And that's something that I've always really had a problem with particularly with doctors. I think doctors have a real sort of reputation for kind of, when they don't really know the answers, for kind of hearsay and trying to figure it out. And it's, I guess it's instilled in us from the fact that when we start off as junior doctors, we don't really know a lot, and we're expected to be patient facing and to explain things to people and stuff. And there's this real temptation to try and be self-sufficient when really you should be deferring to people who are a lot cleverer than you.
A bit like personal trainers.
Well, yeah. I think it's tough. I think people want to look like they know everything. And I think that one thing that has really frightened me in this situation is that suddenly everyone wants to listen to doctors on social media. So doctors' profiles have shot up in importance. And like even mine, like my Instagram account has grown quicker during COVID than it ever has at any other time. And I've seen a lot of doctors really, really play to that. I've seen a lot of doctors going on TV and talking about COVID when I know that they've got no real experience of it. They're not epidemiologists, they're not virologists, they're not experts on that topic, but because they're a doctor, people want to hear what they have to say. The situation itself, I find quite worrying. I've gone in real different waves of how I feel about it. But again, a lot of that has come from my own personal anxieties around sort of, you know, loved ones and health and all of that sort of stuff. But in terms of the actual numbers and all of those things, I think it's incredibly difficult to put it into context. And I remember when it all first started and like Italy were talking about numbers of like 135 people died. I remember this number, 135 people died of COVID in one day. And I remember hearing this story and go, oh my God, everyone's going to die. Like this is, you know, it's so difficult to put numbers into context. I remember thinking about Italy at that time and thinking everyone must know people who've died of COVID because of how the numbers were at that time. But then when you put it into context of hundreds of millions of people and billions around the globe, I don't know, it's really, really hard to get your head around. I don't think the human brain really calculates things very well in terms of percentages and stats and all of that sort of stuff either. So I think that's why we've all got such differing views of it. We've all got our own selfish, you know, things that are important to us. Like I know my business is unlikely to be affected negatively by COVID from an income perspective or from a client perspective, etc. Whereas other people's are. So of course they're going to have a slightly different slant and a take on things. And I think we have to work hard to respect that it's affecting people in different ways, I guess, as well.
Sounds mad, but like COVID was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Not COVID, obviously. For me personally,
that was going to be one of my questions for you both, actually. Like in terms of like reflection and lockdown lessons, what have you both kind of taken differently, if anything?
It's forced me to be home and actually work on myself, which I don't think I've never really done. I always get carried away, either going places or whatever, and it forced me to work on that. And it was the best thing that kind of happened to me, which made me grow a lot in a certain way. The only thing is, this is the longest time I've been away from Smith. So that's what I'm looking for.
We're supposed to go Coachella. We were like a month away from Coachella.
I remember that.
But for me, it's a strange one. I still can't really connect to my own emotions about it, whether it's good or bad. I haven't seen my family in a long time. But then again, there are so many parts of it that I like. But then there are other parts of it where I get very frustrated. And again, humans are terrible with statistics. There's a book about this actually that's out recently. I can't remember what it's called, but basically it talks about all the weird fears that we have in the human population, how statistically speaking, they're not true. So we all think there's a population crisis, but our population's actually slowing down. Not many people have more than 2 kids. So you would need more than 2 children for the population to continue to increase. It's the fact that people used to have a lot more children because not many of them would make it to the age of having babies because there were so many more diseases. And like, there was this book that actually showed the world is way better than we think. They go, oh, you know, 4 million children are going to die this year of certain disease. And it's like, that sounds terrible. I think it was malaria even, but 14 million people died of it 10 years ago. And if you just leave that second part of the statistic off many things, you know, on average, 1 in 100 babies will die during birth. Oh my God, that's terrible. Down from 1 in 10, 50 years ago, whatever it is. And suddenly we're left with all these statistics for people's own narratives. And, you know, in New South Wales, where I'm at the moment, all the news says there are 5 new cases of COVID, 3 of which are untraced. So 2 of which are, you know, in quarantine. I'm like, okay, I understand the exponential risk of that spreading, but why is headline news 3 people out of 7 million? We have 7 million people in New South Wales. Like, and then again for Australia, Victoria went to like stage 3 lockdown. Like, it was almost draconian what went on then. But Australia's death count is at 800, and COVID's been omnipresent for 6 months. And in my head, from a statistical standpoint, I'm like, okay, 800. How many people were going to die in 6 months anyway? Like, how many of that? And then suddenly I stand up in a bar to get my phone out my jeans and I'm being told off. You got to sit down. And I'm like, fuck off. Just fuck off. Just like, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but I can't help but feel these frustrations at the same time. And then I'm like, I can't even vent this frustration because now I'm going to be shot down for being like anti-mask or anti-COVID. And that's not my standpoint. So I feel like there's these 2 things where, you know, sometimes, you know, I feel like I fully support the cause of COVID. It's brought me so much happiness. I've watched more sunsets. I'm still in Australia. I'm playing way more Call of Duty. But then at the same time, I feel like a lot of my freedoms have been taken away from me. And I feel like I'm not allowed to vent about it, you know, and that's almost, it's one of these negatives that people, you know, they're like, you must do this, but do not express how you feel about it because you will have people come down on you hard. And you know, if we take a step back and rewind a year and we present our own narrative of going, if you're in Manchester, you can't leave the house. If you're up north or anywhere in the UK, you can't get a beer after 10 p.m. Last New Year's Eve, imagine if you said to people, next year, you'll have to celebrate it from inside your front room because you're not allowed out on the street. Suddenly people would be like, what? Fuck off. Absolutely not. And yeah, it's for me one of the best, but also kind of one of the worst things that's happened. So I'm still not sure. But at the moment, I'm incredibly happy, although I've got a lot to moan about. I've always got something to moan about.
Humans always have something to moan about. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Isn't it
it's hard to get your head around It's a bit, I've likened this to like, if you are driving and you crash your car and you wake up because you've been in a coma and you're absolutely fine, you won't care about your car because you'll be like, oh my God, I'm so grateful to be alive. But if you crash your car and you're absolutely fine and your car's written off, you'd be like, oh, that's really annoying. Or if you scratch your car, it's really annoying. But it's like the context of it. So it's like, I think I remember at the beginning of the first wave when everybody was getting quite frustrated by it, I sort of felt a bit like, if people don't start, like, people will start taking this seriously when their relatives start dying and when really bad stuff happens, or that, you know, they just can't get into a hospital with their breathing difficulties because the hospitals are overrun. And so I suppose in some ways, the fact that people feel frustrated by the restrictions is hopefully an indicator of the fact that the situation hasn't been as bad as it was predicted to be. And that's always going to result in more frustrations, because actually then they'll be like, well, what did we do all this for then? And I guess like what I want to say to people of that is that, like, actually when people say stuff like, oh, it hasn't killed as many people as the flu has, which it has anyway, then you think, well, even if that was true, that's with shutting down entire countries. That's why it's not done that. And it's difficult without being able to present what would have happened otherwise, because we've not got a crystal ball. It's a massively challenging situation.
It's a really interesting feedback loop there that you say that you're like, oh, you're frustrated that it's working. It's a bit like going to a chiropractor and going, I haven't needed to see you in 6 months, so I obviously never needed to see you in the first place. And the chiropractor could turn around and go, well, actually, no, mate, I kind of fixed your back for that £35 for the 5 minutes. And it's very, and that's kind of what I wanted to hear from you, because, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will want to hear that, where I think it's just for once, we can't figure a situation. There's not enough data on it. But one thing that's kind of interesting that I've heard from a lot of people is that them saying society is actually holding up pretty well, considering, and loads of people are moaning and, you know, all of this kicking off. But if you looked at like the bubonic plague, like of Spanish flu, all of these kind of other really big dents in human population over the years, society went to shit. There was no law and order. There was no hierarchy. There was no finances went to shit. Everyone. So like, although we're locked down and people are frustrated and I'm being told to sit down in a pub, at least society is still working absolutely fine in comparison to a lot of other stuff that's gone on.
Yeah. And also like there are other harms. And I think that's what's so difficult, because you're trying to balance two different types of harm. Like, if you let COVID run rampant, then everyone's going to have all their operations cancelled because there'll be no room in the hospital. If you shut down the hospital because you're worried about COVID, people aren't going to get their operations because of COVID. And it's kind of like balancing, well, which one do you actually do? And I think it's like with everything, the answer lies in balance, and it's trying to figure out optimal situations, because no one, you know, if we have a massive recession, that's going to affect people's health for years to come. Like, there were huge health implications from previous recessions, from things like increased stress, smoking and drinking and all that kind of stuff. There was loads of increases in heart disease and stuff like that after the recession in the 80s. So there are massive health implications from economic downturn as well. So it's just about balancing all of those things. And I, for one, am massively glad that I'm not one of the people that has to make those decisions, because I reckon that they are well difficult.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Everyone criticises the people behind those jobs, but no one would want that job. I wouldn't want bloody Boris's job.
I would not. But he really wanted that job. Like, he wanted it bad.
Oh, I bet he doesn't now.
Yeah, but
I bet he'd give it back if he could now.
We would have found something else. If we weren't complaining about this, there'd be people complaining about something else. Like, we would have been all up in our arms about Brexit, which no one can even remember now. And like, there's always something to complain about.
Even if you solved obesity and he conquered coronavirus and then he did something else, we'd be here going, climate change, you fucking David Attenborough's out here and you're not doing anything about it.
Have you watched that?
I haven't watched it yet.
Sick.
I'm getting a Tesla.
It is.
No, that was going to be one of my questions actually. What's your Netflix, Amazon Prime preferred watch, or your recommended watch for the listeners at the moment?
Diren watches the same thing every night. Every night before bed, Diren watches the same fucking thing. I've listened to the Avengers so many times.
I was going to say, as long as it's not porn.
All right, no, but in saying that, hey, you know what I'm obsessed with right now? You know the Disney Channel, yeah? I love African cats, bro. I love lions, innit?
I haven't watched that.
I've been watching all the African cat documentaries. And
yeah, it's got a National Geographic on there, isn't it?
It's like, there's something about the way the animal moves. It's like me when I get on the jiu-jitsu mats, innit? When I take down Smith next.
What is your jiu-jitsu game?
I'm not telling it in front of Smith now.
Are you like a smash and grab? Are you like the methodical Pied Piper that lures you in, plays possum, and then wraps you up?
I'll tell you what it's like. So when he usually comes, he's got silky hips when he approaches passing the guard. He has got the football suss each way. From standing, he does shoot double legs, quite aggressive, when really you should be using the double leg in a sprawl. He's kind of got the Turkish twist. Then when he gets you to the floor, he uses hips, a bit of misdirection. He does like to show you left, then go right. then from then, when you're flow rolling, there's a lot of strength there. There's a lot of strength going there. But yeah, he's a top pressure. He doesn't play
I have seen
someone
that, James.
I'll
You're a bit of a savage with that old heel hook.
No, let me tell you how Smith is.
Let me have that ankle. Give it here.
Smith is what we call the sloth. He moves slow. He moves heavy. You never know when he's coming, but when he comes, you know what time it is. The guy moves so... I've never seen that big head of his. When he puts that pressure on your chin, oh my Lord, it's a different game. But the good thing about this is, and the mad thing about all this is, we haven't trained together in so long. So it's going to be like, it's actually be a lot of fun when we're rolling. Because I think we both don't know what we're going to expect. Because I know Smith's been working on his takedowns and his stand-up.
Gi or no gi?
Yeah.
Both. I love gi. I love no gi, but I love both. I don't know. I love both. I love both. Yeah.
This is a good trade-off for everyone here. I feel that jiu-jitsu, sorry, Mike and Emma, if you haven't done it, is a massive component of a lot of people's mental health. I think from a lot of personality traits out there, a lot of people use jiu-jitsu as a way to vent their aggression, and there's something about having physical contact with other people that a lot of people use as almost like therapy. And it's a really weird thing because a lot of people some people don't really like affection that much, like get your hand off me. But when they go to jiu-jitsu, they love it. They like the pressure. Like you get to hug 15 people in a night and choke them the fuck out. It's one of the weirdest things. And if you look at kids, animals, they play fight and they don't mean to hurt each other, but the teeth still come out. And I think it's a very important part in not just maturity, but in life in general. And I feel that so many people have had this taken away from them. The gym's the same as far as therapy, but people can set up a gym at home. But the interaction, the respect, the stepping on the mat, the shaking hands, the adversity, the going to war, the humility, all of these things have been taken from people's lives. And you can't channel that aggression at home. You can't do yoga in front of the TV and do that. And unfortunately, there are so many fit and healthy people that have had like an avenue for one of their pillars of mental health taken away. And I know the restrictions coming in are going to stop martial artists from being able to train and from having that contact. And like you say, there are going to be a lot of people who have had one of their pillars of mental health taken away. And I understand why, but it doesn't circumvent the issue that's going to be present there. It's a very strange thing. And it's probably my favorite thing that I've discovered in my adult life was jiu-jitsu. So
100%. And I reckon I'm not going IFS until they put mats on there. I reckon that'll be wicked to show people some stuff, man. It'll be so good for everyone. You know, I think good little entry, take some professors there. How good would that be? So on that time.
Brighten us be greatly.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't rolled in 7 months. However, I mean, they're doing dummy work. It's just not the same. But I found it's just something that totally captures my attention. You're there and you don't even notice the time passing. Like you're fully in there. Whereas typically elsewhere, my mind might wander. But when you're in a BJJ class, there's something about it captures your attention. Anyway, I feel like I've subjected Mike and Emma to too much of that. Sorry, guys.
We're getting them on the mats first.
Emma, James, you didn't see it, but like when you were talking, Emma was doing this, innit?
The mo.
It's doing well.
It's looking good.
Yeah. Stop lying, guys. Stop lying. No, I'm joking. It does suit him, to be fair. It does suit you.
Goes well with the gi.
I can't wait to rip it off with my shoulder, bruv.
I've got a few other questions for you guys, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Favorite timeless classic music tune wise, and you two are welcome to join in as well, Mike and Em. Doesn't matter what day, what month, what year. It might have been produced in the 80s and it's still relevant now. Whenever it's played, whenever.
I'm gonna go Dancing in the Moonlight, Top Loader.
Oh
no.
Very good tune.
Well, any song.
It can be anything that you think they could play it in 20 years' time, it'll still be relevant.
Bop.
You go. What did you say, Emma? What were you trying to say?
Bop.
Is that yours, Emma, or is that yours, Mike?
That's mine. I'm going with it.
What's that?
What?
What do you mean you just stole it from me?
Can you sing
I
it?
don't know what that is.
I thought you were saying.
And also, Mike, yours is 100% going to be Mariah Carey.
Not necessarily. I was going to say All I Want for Christmas Is You, because that is an absolute.
It is Mariah Carey.
But Mbop is, I think, one of the best. Well, there's so many good pop songs, but the problem is.
Did you just say
That's
you
the
don't know
hardest
what that
question he's
song
had
is?
tonight.
Yeah.
Mbop sounds like a noise when you open a drink. What's that?
Okay,
Wait for this.
Right, I'm going to tell you the trivia about Mbop. Such a tune.
That was pretty good.
So, and let me tell you about so these
You
are
don't
like
know that
three
song?
kids that wrote-
You're such a skateboarding girl, innit? You're like that. I know exactly what. Yeah, you're that. No, that's not me. I'm not gonna lie.
Like an Mbop is a measure of time, and this song is about how like time and life just passes you by. It's so deep and meaningful, and they were like 12 when they wrote it. So impressive. You definitely need to check out the whole song and listen to the words. So moving.
Yeah, Mbop.
I'm sure there's like a rap remix I could find for you.
Oh, is that for me? Yeah.
Go
Hassan,
on,
what's
go on,
my one?
Diren. What's yours?
Probably Jackson 5, innit? That'll
Which
be
one?
around. I'm trying to think of it. Wait, hold on. I put it on one of my edits the other day. Hold on.
Sing it.
I can't even remember the lyrics. Hold on. One sec. I'm gonna find
Just
it.
hum it.
There are, yeah.
Can you name it? Can you name it?
Sing for us, Diren.
No. If you're good at saying, you never do it for free. I'm joking. Wait, hold on. Oh,
Maybe beatbox it.
no.
Dan, what was yours?
Yeah,
I've
what's
got a
yours?
couple. Do you know, I think Billie Jean, wherever it's played, timeless classic. Earth, Wind and Fire, September.
Oh my days, why can't I find this?
That's a very good song.
Have you?
Wait, I don't even know what that song is.
It doesn't age. You can play it whenever, a wedding, you can play it at a party, student union, it just goes off.
You'll know it when you hear it.
Oh my!
ABC in it. Yeah.
Can't believe I did not. I can't believe I forgot that. But it's not called ABC though. That's. I want you back.
I want you back. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah.
First movie crush. So this could be, it can be anything. First movie, sitcom.
First person you fancied in a movie, or is that
First time you could remember being attracted to anyone, anything, in anything you've seen from however young you were.
Do you remember Girl Next Door?
Hey, yes.
No, do you know what though? I challenge most men, and this is going to sound super weird, but I'm going to put myself out there and say that. Go a bit further then. I say most men, depends on what floats your boat.
Yeah.
So mine was Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and then Jessica Rabbit slightly after that.
How old are you?
Cartoons.
Yeah, man.
How old are you?
I'm talking like young.
But what, you feeling cartoons, big man?
Not now.
Yeah.
Like, when you're like six, you
anime,
always
innit?
say that.
No, for me it was. There was a film called? Is it called? Not New Girl. It's Girl. The one where where you know the one from Richie Rich Dies from the Bumblebees. You know what I'm talking about?
Stand by.
Oh, My Girl.
My girl.
My
that's
Girl.
it, yeah.
I loved her.
Anna Klumpsky.
I loved her. And
Well, I
I'm
guess
like,
yours are at least human.
yeah.
Pocahontas was quite fit then, I suppose, if we're doing cartoons.
Thank you. I don't feel so out there. Thank you for bringing me back into the fort there, James.
I'll know ESGs.
I'm just trying to think. I actually don't know.
I
think I was a bit confused.
I was gonna say that. You were confused, innit? I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, was it a girl or a boy? That's what I wanted to know.
I can't remember. I definitely don't remember fancying cartoons though.
Yeah. Must be a Turkish thing, innit?
Diren, you're like, tell us, because Dan was telling me about this. This is like a cultural question. Yeah. What is? I'm gonna show my ignorance about Kurdish and Turkish, and what's the story there?
Kurds are just scattered all over the place, right? We don't have a country. So, but my parents, they're Kurds.
Yeah.
In Turkey. So there's Kurds scattered in villages in Turkey, in Iraq, in Iran, Syria, all over the place, right? So the Kurds try to fight for land, and I guess the Turkish right-wing patriots don't like that, so it causes a level of social.
Can I just say all my family from Northern Cyprus are strictly not Turkey? Just
Yeah, but that's fine. No, but I don't care. I don't care. No, but I don't care about all that stuff. I'm just like when someone.
You can spot a Kurd. You can spot a Kurd as well.
How?
Like they've got a look to them. You can see it. They usually got quite square heads, and their facial hair is a little bit different.
Got that flat head.
And now because we'll be kicking about, and it like when we're in Germany, I can now try and spot who are going to be kind of the Muslim variants of the Turkish. You go into the shops. What's those little wraps that we have? With the little
cheek köfte. I made him, gave him cheek köfte.
And you're in there and you're like, mashallah, and like that, you use the right words with them. But then another place you're like, Nasassin, and it's quite interesting to pick up. And like, if I ever say in front of his dad, it's like, oh, you're Turkish. He's like, we're Kurdish.
Yeah. No, that's because it's funny because like you use it quite interchangeably, but people like my friends that are Kurdish, they're like, no, I'm Kurdish, not Turkish.
Yeah.
They're quite.
I don't care. I'm human. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, so
Yeah.
if I could, when I was younger, if I wanted to play for Turkey, I'd play for Turkey. But do you know what I mean? I've got a Turkish passport and I've got a British one, so I'm either or. I don't care. Like.
And actually, Kurdish folk that live in Turkey speak better Turkish than Northern Cypriot Turks, which speak like a slang.
Yeah, I know.
If you're going to learn Turkish, you go to mainland Turkey. Anyway, that got off subject, didn't it?
Sorry, I just wanted to get my cultural knowledge up. Thank you.
No problem.
And that was that. You know, in terms of short questions, I just wanted to round up because I didn't even notice I know that's like the cliche thing to say, but I didn't even know that we'd been talking for nearly 2 hours, or an hour and a half even. So, in terms of IFS, where can people get tickets? When is it? When, if it happens?
I'd say to people to get onto the Instagram for, I think it's at IFS events. I'm going to double check now. Yeah, at IFS_events, and then everything's just going to be posted on there. I know Diren and I are being put in charge of keeping an eye out for speakers. But yeah, that's again why I'm keen to talk about, or was keen to talk about some of the COVID stuff, because it's going to be an interesting year between now and next summer, and it's almost not just a purely medical topic. It's political now. It's like everything comes with trade-offs, and it's funny. I sit here in my little castle of naivety in Australia with one of the lowest rates in the world. And I kind of can't imagine a world next year where we're still, having to cancel events. But then again, all of us said that 3 months ago, so it's very difficult. But whatever happens, we're gearing towards next summer. We're gearing towards some events. I know that we're going to look to put together some stuff when I'm back in the UK as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, people definitely just register there. They go onto the website and sign up.
I've also been told it's okay to mention there's a podcast stage, isn't there, next year, hopefully.
Yes. And as far as I think one of the core components, especially if we get off the ground, is the business to business element, which I'm going to be doing as much as I can with, where a lot of personal trainers are going to have to adapt their business to the current climate. If things get better or if they don't, we've got a new wave of personal trainers coming through that need to be upskilled, not just by myself, but some of the other main educators, Paul Mort, Phil Graham, and yeah, there's a few other new people potentially we're going to get on board with that. So I think there's never been a better time than ever for people to kind of upskill.
Agreed. We'll get all the details in our show notes anyway, so everyone knows where to find you. What else was I going to add? I was going to add something else. I can't remember. Anyone else?
I think it's massively exciting. I think it's something that we're all really sad didn't happen this year. But I think that the fact that they've given it a whole year is like, I think a lot of people have kind of put off events for like a couple of months and then cancelled them again. And then it's always been really difficult. But I think giving it a bit of a clean slate and saying, I think it's only sort of building up the hype and building up the expectation and building up the chances to get even more people involved and to have even more accessibility for it. And I think it's going to be incredible. Like, I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah,
can't wait for it.
100%. And also, not just personal trainers, anyone else listening to this, make sure you're there, because the parties are going to be lit. You're going to be learning, partying, and other bits too, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to 100% be there if it happens next year, because I can't listen to all that again about how much we missed out. So 100%. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Genuinely, absolute pleasure. We would love to have you, put you on the spot. We'd love to have you back at some point if you can free up some time in your busy schedule, separately or together. We'd love to have you back. As usual.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you very much. Thanks to you guys, I've got to see one of my best mates again, Smith. It was great to see you. It's great chatting to you.
We make dreams come true.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your time. The usual: subscribe, rate, review. The only way it hits more ear holes is if you leave us reviews, share them on your Instagram stories, tag us in, and all that stuff. We love all that. The usual fashion: short, sharp, abrupt.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Yeah.